Hey there, everybody. Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with a look at the Derya Arms DY9. Now, this has been out for a little while. You've probably actually seen this on a number of channels, but today, a little bit different coming from me. I am working directly with the people at Derya who did provide this for this video, and well, today we're trying to get the word out about the direction of the company. So this is actually a pretty cool opportunity. Now, in full disclosure, as I already mentioned, this was sent to me. So I'm not going to be interjecting too much in the way of opinion, more rather trying to deliver the facts on this. But this is going to be a little bit of a mini series. So today, taking a look at the Derya Arms DY9 in detail. We're going to take a look at this in terms of the overall features that this comes with and why this particular version does differentiate itself from some of the ones you may have seen on other channels. Then moving forward, this will turn a little bit into more of a field review, getting this into the field for that, good firing action. And then we have a bunch of accessories to go through in different ways that we can build out the DY9. And so, yeah, a little bit of a mini series. But at the heart of it, the DY9 is a Glock-patterned handgun. So you can see here that this is more of the compact version, patterned after the Glock-19. But there are some definite differences between this and the Glock. Now, what makes this different from the other DY9s that you've seen on other channels? Well, Derya is going through all of the proper steps to make sure that there is a level of compliance with their firearms across all 50 states. And this is what they have coined the Massafornia Edition. So if you are in a state that has regulations and limitations to capacity or configuration, the little kind of necessities that come from some of those more restricted states, well, Derya is taking all of the steps to make sure that they can get their firearms in your hands. And that is the first thing. The next thing, well, this is fully manufactured in the United States, which is pretty awesome. Now, Derya themselves, they're a Turkish company. In fact, they happen to be the largest firearms manufacturer in Turkey for shotguns. So yeah, when it comes to shotguns, Derya definitely in the Turkish space. But now with a manufacturing facility in Jacksonville, Florida, they are now bringing their handguns to the US market, USA made, which is very cool. But when it comes to the Massafornia Edition, there are definitely some things worth considering. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is demonstrate the magazine. I have loaded this with some snap caps here just for the demonstration. No live ammo anywhere around. And again, because this is patterned after a Glock-19, the reality is Glock-19 magazines themselves actually don't fit too well in here. As you take a look at the bottom of the grip, you'll notice that there is a flare. Now, this is something that you may have seen on other channels, other reviews. If I take the standard Glock-19 magazine and insert it, it does go in, and actually, with a little bit of effort, it does eject, but the reality is that sits below the flare. And one of the nice things about the grip is the fact that it does have that flare and that you can really index with your pinky and get a fantastic purchase. And so if you're not going to leverage that flare, you do lose out a little bit. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of accessories in another video that kind of allows you to swap this out if you so choose and get to more of a standard grip. So if you're somebody that's heavily invested into Glock and have a ton of magazines, that might be a good route for you. But again, that will be at a later time. But as of right now, you can see the factory magazine. This is a 10-round capacity, and that is because this is the Massafornia Edition. A lot of times with the regulated states, you'll notice that they do drop the capacity, and so that's the first thing, is dropping the capacity with this double stack magazine down to 10 rounds. But it does have that flare on the bottom, and it inserts wonderfully, has a nice contour, and works out very well, where you do end up marrying that sort of angle and curve and flare to the bottom of the handle, and you'll notice that drops out easily. So that's the first thing, is you may need to invest into Derya's proprietary magazines to make sure a flush fit. And just to complete my thought on the magazine, again, this is a 10 round capacity, 9mm Luger, and the standard version is 15 round. So 15 plus 1 on the standard, here 10 plus 1 on the Massafornia Edition. Now that I have the magazine inserted, what we're going to do is we're going to rack one of these dummy rounds into the chamber. Now again, you can see as we rack that, right away, there is a loaded chamber indicator on top. So you'll notice there that bright red sticking out. That is the loaded chamber indicator. That is also one of the features that's on this particular version that makes this compliant. And so, you can certainly do a little press check here and see what's going on, but you don't necessarily have to, because you should be well aware that the chamber is loaded simply because of that indicator. Now you've already seen that I've racked a round into the chamber. I'm now going to drop the magazine. So dropping the mag. At this point, remaining round inside, you can see still loaded, and even though it's probably not the best, pointed in a safe direction, finger on the trigger. Now this does have that blade safety, so in red there, the blade safety, reaching in and trying to pull, nothing. This will not fire without the magazine inserted, so again, nothing. But as soon as we insert the magazine, you will see it will fire. Now I did find that on the reset, this actually stays cocked back. You'll see it will not actually spring forward until we rack again. So now imagine we took a shot, and try to keep an eye on that trigger itself. This is going to be a little hard to demonstrate, but it then releases forward. So on the reset here, again, fire, holding, reset, now release. It is just something worth noting that, this by itself, again, if I fire, it does not spring back initially. It needs to fully cycle to reset back. Taking a look at the slide, we end up with the TRUGLO front and rear sights. This will be interesting to see how this goes. You can see nice bright red front sight, and then the rear, bright green. I don't know how I feel about it yet. Only time will tell. I've never had sights with this particular configuration, so I'm excited to check it out. I just don't really have anything to go by or any experience to speak to. In this day and age, I know for me, I am starting to at least believe that I prefer a fully blacked out rear sight. Again, I'm not sure how I will like this combination, but I do love that there is a stark contrast between the red and the green and the TRUGLO sights. You can see nicely done where they've actually machined out that little slot right on top, both on the front and on the rear, which should give this a fantastic ability to just light up in the daylight. Optic ready, so the slide is cut, and of course you can see that the filler plate is in front of the rear sight, so that's awesome. You're not going to need to remove your rear sights. Rear sight is dovetail construction there, so you can see dovetail design and hopefully centered pretty well. Now when it comes to the optic, this is RMR direct mount right to the slide, which keeps it as low as possible, which is fantastic. And then of course RMR being just a little bit larger than your micro dot or the RMSC platform. So RMR just a little bit bigger, which I do prefer. This for me is not going to be that compact carry anyway. So I would prefer to have a little bit of a larger dot, and having the direct mount right onto the slide is pretty sweet. However, there are some accessories that do come in the box. So if you prefer to get a little bit of height on that, you can actually insert a filler plate. So you'll notice that this does come with a filler plate and some longer screws, which allows you to get that optic a little bit higher up. Maybe a little bit better sight picture for some people. I personally will not be running this, but you can see that this is machined in order to accept the fact that the Massafornia Edition does have that loaded chamber indicator. So this will pretty much go in place of the filler plate there with longer bolts. And you can see that will go right in place there and then buys you the space for the actuation of that loaded chamber indicator. While I have the box open, might as well take a look here. You can see it comes with some basic stuff. So your warning and warranty information. Again, that filler plate, the longer screws. It ends up with a very basic cleaning brush. So again, the 9mm cleaning brush there. And I love the fact that this is synthetic. I do not personally like using things that are like overly harsh. So having that like synthetic brush, I think is better than copper or brass in my opinion. A little bit of a patch kit here, so the ability to take your patches and shove them down and through the bore. But more importantly, you do have interchangeable back straps. So as you take a look here on the grip, you can see a couple of pins that you would punch out that would allow you to change out the grips. Now, I believe this comes with medium, I think some level of a medium grip, and each one of these is marked. So this one is marked L for large, S for small, XL for extra large, and again, I believe the one that is on here is considered medium straight from the factory. The Massafornia Edition also coming with a chamber flag. So a little chamber flag there, and then also a cable lock and key. So pretty much that's the standard setup here for the Massafornia Edition. Keep in mind the fact that this does come with a single magazine, so one magazine, more available right on Derya's website, and of course with the proprietary base plate. On the front of the polymer grip, you can see that this does have a little chunk of rail, so a little bit of a pick rail there, the ability to add your weapon light, which I do like. This particular version does not have a threaded barrel. So as you take a look here, just a standard barrel. We're going to look at some options a little bit later that kind of mix things up. So in the future, another video will show you different options with the island slide and barrel, which gives it a little bit of a different take. But here on the standard barrel, again, we have no threads. As you take a look, pretty simple in terms of the ability to remove the slide. Now, I'm not going to completely do it on camera, but in essence, we're going to lean up on your slide catch or slide release, however you wish to call it. Right hand only on that. As that rocks back, you'll see that now catches. Going to pinch here, pull these down, and then start to release the slide, and that will allow you to pull it off. Inside we have a dual spring. It is a two-stage spring with a polymer guide rod, which I'm not a huge fan. I would prefer a steel guide rod personally, but it is what it is. Now you'll notice on the frame itself, there's a little bit of a ledge with some texture. I'm not saying that's a complete gas pedal, but it does give you a little bit of traction. So as you get forward and kind of getting up with your thumb, that does give you a place to land. On the slide, decent serrations both on the front and on the rear. It's actually a pretty good looking handgun overall. Another Turkish company here, Canik, which a lot of people do like. So obviously Turkey having, excellent firearms and manufacturing and just good quality design. But you can see that the Canik is going to be a little bit larger. This here is the Mete SFT, which is probably closer to like a Glock 17 versus 19 size. But then again, this is going to be just a nice mid-size, more towards compact carry, and just a fantastic offering, 9mm, and just great entry into the market from Derya, and especially for those compliant states. So all in all, reasonable checkering, decent grip, but I'll know more once I get into the actual field use portion of this video. And so all in all, Derya is now Derya US. That's pretty cool. And not only are they Derya US, but they are absolutely taking all the necessary steps to make sure everybody can get their hands on one of their handguns That is not the easiest thing to do in this day and age, so for them to take all the necessary steps, get the compliance testing in some cases, landing on firearms registries in others, putting all the necessary features into handguns to make them compliant, that's kind of a big deal. So if you think about it that way, they are absolutely somebody to pay attention to. Derya doing a fantastic job. So thank you very much to the people at Derya USA who did provide this for review. You've heard me say it a few times, much more to come. This was just the first look and impression, general overview, and really introducing the fact that, more than anything else, Derya now having compliance in all of those states that really like to take away your little firearms freedoms, the little things that kind of go a long way, capacity, especially, more than anything else. So, to the people at Derya, thank you for providing this for review. For the rest of you, thanks so much for following along. Take care now. I'll see you soon.